Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It's Monday, July 22nd, and we are here answering your financial questions. And actually, we're mostly answering questions about your life. It's just that often when you're making big life decisions, your finances are impacted. And if you count yourself among those people who are making big life decisions, then we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us by going to our website, jillonmoney.com, clicking the Contact Us button, and letting us know if you would like to join us on the air by checking that little box, and Mark will do everything else. While you're on the website, sign up for the free weekly newsletter, which comes out every Friday. Mark does such a good job with that. And you can also check out all the other free content. If you've got a few extra shekels, though, you know what a shekel is? Mark, I might be dating myself. But anyway, that was it was basically money in the old days. If you've got a few shekels or a few bucks, why not subscribe to our service? Jill on Money Live. $35 gives you access to quarterly live webinars, all the past webinars we've conducted, and a lot of fun bonus video content. $35 is Jill on Money Live. All right, today we are talking to Alex, who's on the line from California. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Good morning. How are you two?
Doing very well. What's going on that prompts you to get in touch with us today, sir?
Well, this is actually a bit of a follow-up. I spoke with you two in 2021. We were seeking some advice. We were getting ready for retirement. So you guys gave us some good advice. We followed it. And,
thank God it was good advice. You could be calling up and saying, you gave us rotten advice and we want our money back, except there's no money.
Yeah, so we retired in March, and so I just had some follow-up questions. We're kind of, now a little bit in steady state, and was curious to get some thoughts from you on our diversification,
Sure.
Going forward for the long term.
Okay, Alex, how old are you?
53.
I said you could retire and you're only 53?
Yeah.
And you were 50 at the time? My God.
Yeah.
You said a we, so who's the we?
Oh, yes. My wife, she also retired. We both retired in March.
And she is also in her 50s?
Yes, she's 53 as well.
Okay. And how are you supporting yourselves with this early retirement?
Well, we just saved very well. We have our nest egg, and it's serving us well at this point. It seems to be working.
Okay, so you have no income. In other words, there's no passive income. There's no pension. There's no rental income. You're just living off the money that is generated from your nest egg.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. How much is in the nest egg? First, give us the pre-tax, and then give us maybe if there's Roth money, and then just the regular old taxable. Pre-tax,
we have 2.3 million.
Okay.
And then outside of that, we have 1.4.
In just plain old brokerage?
It's a mix. We have some brokerage with some stocks and so forth, mostly that we got through work. And then we have savings bonds, CDs, a little mix of a lot of things.
But all of that pre-tax money is all the retirement money. There's no Roth assets.
Of the pre-tax, I guess, is really not pre-tax. We have 2.2 million in IRAs. And then we have 70K in Roths. Okay. And then we're working on slowly converting those, converting more into the Roth over the, coming years.
So how much are you living on right now in retirement?
So we've budgeted $120,000 a year. Okay.
And do you have money that is basically earmarked for that 120 out of the 1.4 million of the money that's already been taxed?
Yeah, so we're sort of treating it like two pools of money, pre-Medicare / pre-turning 59. So we sort of have the phase one money. We're keeping that, fairly safe, fairly conservative, and just living off that. So that's all earmarked for that. And then the other money is, invested in a pretty standard way with, stocks and bonds and so forth. And so we're trying to that's kind of the question, is about the mix for that, to make sure we're properly diversified. That we're essentially not going to touch for about 10 years plus.
So that's the money. Okay, wait a second. I just want to make sure I understand this. So there's money in the brokerage account, of which how much is in cash, like plain old cash, not invested? Of that 1.4, what is in cash?
A lot more than I'd like at the moment because
Mm.
we sold our house. And so we're working on getting that moved into some investments. But we probably have about 750,000 sitting in, savings bonds and CDs right now, taking advantage of the good interest rates. But, I know they're not going to last forever. So
But essentially, I mean, you could say, given you're 53, are you turning 54 this year?
Yes.
You could take of that 750. You could basically say, I want to put a bunch of that, at least half of that should be kept safe, right? Because you're going to spend it.
Right.
Is that the game plan?
Yep.
Okay. Do you own a house in since you've moved?
No, we're renting.
Okay. And you don't plan to buy again?
Right.
Okay. Got it. All right.
So this whole thing, are you sure you called our show?
Yeah.
Seriously, because I don't know that we would have given you this advice.
Well,
based on the numbers, and when they're spending 100, it's not like they're spending 3,000 a month.
Well, I'm just looking at this. I think he can make it work. I'll tell you how he does it. He ends up basically saying of the 1.4 million, remember, we're going to spend that most of that money's been taxed. Let's just say, Mark, for argument's sake, all the cash is gone out of the 1.4 in 6 years is the 750 is gone, right? And then there's another 650 that's available. And then what I think what you're getting at is at 59. First of all, I would never convert any of your money right now. I would not do that. Absolutely would not do that because you're going to spend that pre-tax money. So then you at 59 and a half, I could see how this works, which is you would then start pulling money out of your pre-tax account to the tune of 150 grand a year, pay your taxes on it and live on or let's say $160,000 a year, pull the money out, right? And let that take you to Social Security, 67. And then you don't need the 120, but it's close, dude. It's not like this was no slam dunk. Are you willing to go back to work?
I'd sure like to not have to.
Do you have kids, grown kids?
Yes, we do.
You're not leaving them anything, right?
Well, we'll do our best.
No, you're not going to leave them anything. You're going to have to spend all of your money. You really are.
What was the deal with the jobs? I just refreshed my memory. Did you
Mark wants to make sure that we gave you this advice.
Well, I'm looking at my sent emails from because I can usually track this stuff. I don't see anything. That's why I'm just wondering. I don't see any past correspondence. So, what was the deal with the jobs? Were you miserable? I mean, were you miserable at the time and you just wanted out? What was the deal?
Yeah, I mean, we were looking for some more freedom and so forth. I mean, we were definitely looking for a change.
Mark's going back into the files. I can hear him right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe this.
Well, if we're saying it's too close for comfort right now, we would have said that back then.
Well, back then, was there anything that was different about your situation, just out of curiosity?
No, we laid out this plan pretty specifically. The area that you gave your most focused advice was kind of on the phase one money that we're using now. Yeah. You encouraged us, to make more of that and save and, concentrate in that area. So.
Well, I mean, I think they can do it, Mark. I really do. I think that there's two parts of it. One is that if you look at the next, let's presume, and the 120, is that like set in stone? I mean, you don't have a mortgage or anything. It's just, is there any give on that 120?
Well, sure. I mean, we can be flexible as the situation allows. That's just kind of the expenses that we've, predicted.
I mean, I think that they might be able to do it. Let's just stay with me for a second here, Mark, because I hear Mark is getting worried. So if we look at the cash, okay, so we're going to spend 120 grand a year. Okay. So out of the one, we need to spend, essentially we have to take $1 million of the 1.4 and spend it, right? Because we got 6 years to go and maybe there's going to be some capital gains. But let's leave them. Let's presume out of that, in 6 years, we've spent not just the 750. We have to spend a little bit more. But let's say we spend 800 of the 1.4 million. It leaves them with 600 grand in the brokerage account. That 600 grand, Alex, has to be invested somewhat modestly. Just in case we actually need more of the money. But you can't really put any of the cash to work, I don't think. And I'm not sure I would do it. I'm not sure I would do it much more than just buy a 6-year CD, a 5-year CD, a 4-year CD. Like, I'm not sure I would do much more, even though that sounds stupid. and you could be losing opportunity. It's scary to think if you lost that money within this time horizon in the next 5 or 6 years, if we have a big bear market in the middle of it, which we totally could, right? Then
Right.
I'm worried. So if I left you with 600 grand in 6 years, plus the 2.3 million, I'm just going to say 2.3 is all or 2.2 in the pre-tax. Now at 59 and a half, you're going to start pulling money out, right? And that's when, that's going to be tricky because we're going to need to pull enough money out to kind of get you through 59 to 67, right? You're not due to any pensions, right?
Right.
I'll tell you what, I don't know what I have to pull the tape on this, but like, I agree with Mark. This is no slam dunk. And I hope that you had another idea about this, but like, honestly, you're really young and you got a long time to live. So is there any other money that we can look at as a possibility? Anyone going to die and leave you some money?
Well, we're certainly not counting on that. It could happen.
I think you got to pull the money back. I think it has to be 100 grand a year, not 120. That's what I think.
Okay, that's fair.
Or get a part-time job. In 6 years, think about this. In 6 years, if their 2.3 is, I don't know, 2.6, can you imagine that, Mark?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so.
Right. So if that's 2.6 at age 50, I got to do a quick math here, at 59 and a half, and we are actually going to take out 100 and, well, they're in a high tax state in California, but let's just say we have to pull out 135 grand a year to clear their 100, right? They're going to have to basically take out $1 million. So if they're at age 59 and a half, they're going to have to basically deplete of the 2.6, half of it to get to Social Security. What are your Social Security retirement benefit estimates look like?
Around 2,800, maybe to 3,000 for each of us.
All right. Well, that's help. That's a huge help, right?
Yeah.
So if you guys then can, you know what, actually, Mark, it can work. It can work, but you're going to spend all your money down for sure. And the allocation cannot be too risky. And on the brokerage account money, the pre-tax money, you can have that invested. I mean, you're really not going to touch that for 6-7 years. How is it invested right now in terms of allocation? Is it like 60-40, 70-30? What does it look like?
Right now it's 67-33.
I think there's two things. One is if you guys could make, if you want to keep doing 120 a year, maybe when we talked to them in 21, it was more like 100 grand a year. Who knows? But if you're at 120, because prices are up and everything's more expensive and it's 20% more, and we thought 100 and we're really talking about 120, it is doable. You will blow through all of your money. There is no doubt in my mind. And if you want to secure some of that money just in case, and it may not be necessary, I'm just saying just in case, you'd get some part-time work, or you wouldn't spend 120 a year. That's what I think happens. I could see, if I put my 2021 hat on, to say like, yeah, I mean, I could see you doing it, but I don't know. How much money did you have at that time when we were looking at that? What did you have in the brokerage account? Yeah,
at the time, what we were intending was to just have $1 million in the brokerage.
So you did better.
We followed your advice, pumped that one up a lot more.
And what was in the pre-tax at the time?
Oh, I can't remember what was. The plan was, I mean, I'm guessing probably we're about, 200,000 or 300,000 higher than what the original plan was back then. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think it'll work. I just think you have to be careful. And everyone listening, don't just take my advice to be like, yeah, go do it. You got to keep rerunning the numbers every year. And when prices go up or things happen, we have to keep running the numbers. But all that being said, do I think you could probably do it? Yeah, I actually do. Now that I look at the numbers more closely, Mark's worried for you.
Well, I didn't plan to worry you guys too much, but
I'd like to run a Monte Carlo and see what the success rate is.
I'll tell you what. If you limit what you pull out I think the problem really is that I'm guessing the 120 a year wasn't 120 a year in 2021. I'm guessing that there was a little bit lower than that.
Yeah, could have been.
I'm guessing, because if you had told us then, just think, because all prices are up, just whatever. CPI in the last 5 years is up like 20%, let's just say. Okay. So if you said to us 100 or 90 or 80, then we may have like been able to kind of wiggle around. But this is not to say you can't do this. What it is to say is for everyone listening that every time you guys call and you ask us advice, we're talking about a snapshot in time, and we have to retest the numbers all the time. And the numbers, I mean, again, it doesn't look, I don't want you to freak out, Alex. It's not like, oh my God, you should, but I think that like the reason that Mark is having this reaction is that we are more conservative. And especially because, you could live 40 more years. We don't want to have to see you cut back dramatically 20 years from now in terms of your spending, right? So what I think would make sense, as I said, is looking at where you're spending your money right now and saying, hey, you know what? We don't need to do 120. We could do 100. That works. Or, you know what? We're both going to bring in 20 grand a year just as like extra money. And I don't know if that you have like careers that would allow that or anything, but like that would be a good idea. What were you thinking about doing for the next 40 years, Alex?
Mostly travel is something we enjoy doing, but just having the freedom to be with family and do the things we want.
Now I'm feeling like that 120 is going to turn into 150, and then you definitely can't do it. Because that's like true. I don't know. Like, what's your rent right now?
$3,000.
That's cheap.
Yeah.
So where are you spending a lot of money?
I can expand a little bit on our plans, but I mean, one of the intentions is that we're going to kind of go nomadic. So the travel should be, not too extravagantly expensive, since we won't be, supporting a house back at home during that time.
So you would say the $3,000 a month that you're spending on rent would essentially be $3,000 a month that you're spending on travel and doing stuff.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's possible. It's totally possible. So I would say that we should think about locking down the money that you're going to need to spend between now and your age 60, right? This 120 grand a year. Maybe you put 100 grand and you have like a laddered CD or laddered bonds. Okay. I just need to be locked down and safe. The rest of it has to be a much more balanced portfolio because you'll need it just in case. And in the pre-tax portfolio, I wouldn't make it much riskier because we're foregoing upside to secure or protect against a potential downside or a downside at the wrong time in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's I think it's all good advice. It's kind of in keeping with the plan we sort of had.
Okay.
But I'm glad you're, focusing me more on things to worry about. So that's good.
Yes, rob a bank would be another thing.
That's my side hustle, huh?
That's your side hustle. No, I mean, I think a side hustle would be a huge relief from, like, you put it this way. You could invest some of that cash if you were willing to actually have some side hustle income. So I wouldn't make the decision to do that necessarily this minute, but if all of a sudden you're like, hey, actually, I can get a side hustle. This is awesome. And this is a great thing. And like, if that worked, then you could potentially be able to invest some of that cash a little more aggressively. Not aggressively, but you could put some of that cash to work, I would say. I think that would work. Isn't it weird, Mark, that, you could have somebody who has, almost $4 million, okay? And it doesn't quite work. I know that seems like tons and tons of money, gang, but some of this money hasn't been taxed yet. So that's why I think they can do it, just because they have a lot of money in the brokerage account. It does kind of make sense to me that it could work, but it's a tiny bit close. It's a little bit priced to perfection. That's what I would say. And it's not, you didn't make a horrible decision, Alex. It's just that, we're wimps. So I don't want you to, I do, I was on someone else's podcast recently with Ben Carlson, and we were answering questions, and he put up a really interesting graph of kind of like investment returns over time, and how essentially people who have $3-4 million generally don't spend all their assets down because, their money keeps growing faster than what we as wimps, Mark and I, are assuming. So I feel like, on paper, I think it works. The visceral reaction that Mark and I had has more to do with us and who we are as wimps than what I think the financial reality is, which I think you probably will be fine. I would feel a tiny bit better if you were willing to make some money on the side. That's all I'm saying. Now, do you have your estate documents done?
We do.
And you have any old insurance policies that are outstanding and out there that you're paying for?
Nope, we've closed those down.
All right. I think I'm going to let you go. I feel okay. I feel like Alex is going to be okay. If you, like Alex and his wife, are fried at age 53, we need to get you a new job. We may be able to give you advice that could help you get to a goal, and then we'll counter that advice later after you've already made your choice. No, I'm just kidding. But we do want to encourage everybody to, when you're making a huge decision like this, is to keep running the numbers, check back in with us, especially before you make a big decision, okay? And if you have a question and this is something that's interesting to you, give us a holler. Go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button. Let us know if you would like to join us on the air. And while you're on the website, you can check out all of our great content, including our YouTube show, which is called Jill on Money, powered by The Compound. You can subscribe to us on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Try to lift someone up today. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.